All right, welcome everyone to our Q&A with Qlik webinar series. We're so excited to have all of you join us today for our April bonus session, where we'll talk about downloads, do's, and don'ts. I wanted to sneak this session in for spring as we launch the new Qlik downloads site middle of February this year. And we want to make sure everyone has the resources they need to be successful with their installations and upgrades. This webinar series is a live question and answer session, or you may have seen us refer to it as our live office hours with our expert panelists. We want you to use this time to ask a question on today's topic and hopefully get to know some of the good people here at Qlik a little more. So on that note, I am Katie Davis, and I will be your moderator for this session. I'm a senior community program manager, bringing these support-related events to our users and working on various digital channels on Qlik Community. You might have seen me posting on our support updates blog. It's another great place to get support and product news. I'm located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is along the East Coast of the United States. I'm also joined with Jamie Gregory here today. She'll be hanging out in the background and fielding all the questions and chats that I may be missing. So she's also had a big hand in helping create this download site. So Jamie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you, Katie. Like she said, my name is Jamie Gregory. I'm located in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I've been with Qlik for almost 5 years now. I'm the community operations manager, so I have a huge hand in the stability of the Qlik community itself. And as Katie mentioned, also, I had a huge hand in with the downloads page. So I'm happy to be here and can't wait for everyone's questions.
Awesome, thank you. Now, before I introduce our panelists, I'll go over our session parameters. Everyone is currently on mute, and we ask that you type your questions in the Q&A panel. We will not necessarily be using the panel to type out a response to your question, as we plan to speak to them all live today. Our survey link will pop up when the session is ended. It is also linked in this presentation, so be sure to complete it. It takes 10 seconds. We also plan to email the link out with the recording 1 week from today, and the survey will be shared along with it. So keep an eye out for that if you want to, watch it again, or if you have to hop out, you can always watch the whole thing with that link. Completing the survey always helps us continuously improve this experience for you. Another thing we love is when participants share future topics you'd like to hear. These can range from anything product specific or functionality focused. Go ahead and email those ideas to digital@qlik.com. Topic suggestions can also be included when you register. Speaking of registrations, when you sign up for our next session, there's an option at the way bottom of the page that you can check to receive monthly email invites for our sessions so you don't miss them. And keep in mind that although we have Qlik experts on the line, we will not be able to answer any of your questions regarding a specific open case. And we ask that you keep the questions relevant to today's topic, which it covers everything downloads, upgrading, installations. I tried to get a nice mix of data analytics and data integration specialists in our panel today, along with the operations and infrastructure leads behind the download site. So get your questions ready. As I introduce our panelists, you can start entering them now. So joining us today, we have Fabrice Lawson, a customer first operations leader. We have Tony Caudo, a customer first R&D leader. We have Andrew Delaney, a principal technical support engineer on our QDA side, and Mario Pitre as well, a principal technical support engineer. And then on the QDI side, we have Barbara Phil, our technical support engineer, and Kelly Hobson, a technical support engineer, if I didn't say that enough. So it means that you all are in good hands today. We have a lot of experts. So I'll let them each introduce themselves quickly, and then we'll dive into these questions. So Fabrice, would you like to start?
Yeah, hi, my name is Fabrice. I work as the operation leader for R&D at the moment. I've been with Qlik about almost 13 years. So I've been around, and I originally actually come from the support organization before I moved to R&D. So I'm really happy to be here and looking forward to all your questions.
Well,
Thanks.
we miss you in support, Fabrice, but you're doing some great things where you are now. So thanks for joining. All right, Tony, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, so I'm Tony. I work in the same team as Fabrice in our R&D customer first and product success team, but I'm based out of Perth, Australia, and I also have been with Qlik for many years, 11 plus years now. Also coming through support. Also spent a few years in pre-sales, so you might see my name around in community, old posts and whatever.
Thanks. All right, Andrew, you're up.
Hey, I'm a principal support engineer here. I have been with Qlik for like 6 years now, I think. Primarily work on kind of back-end ClickSense on-prem things. So I've looked into a lot of different install and upgrade issues over the years. Yeah, and I don't anticipate that changing.
Awesome. All right, Mario, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Good to be here again. I'm Mario Petre, also a member of the signature support team out of Lund, Sweden, working alongside with Andrew, although he has a couple of months additional tenure, but nobody holds that against him. We've been focusing pretty much on the same kinds of issues. So there's a lot of knowledge in the room about successful, unsuccessful deployments, what to do and what not to do during upgrades. So field your questions. Looking forward to them.
Awesome. All right, Barbara, you're next.
Hello, everyone. This is Barbara Phil. Glad to have you join us. I'm a senior tech support tech engineer for the past 3 years, but 6 years in total with Qlik. I'm based in the East Coast in Florida, so we do have beautiful weather today. And I've been in the software industry for about 30 years, but my specialty is DB2 ZOS, LUW, and iSeries, in particular for Replicate, and as well as the rest of the QDI products. And I'm glad you're here. Ask away.
Great, thank you. And last but not least, Kelly.
Good morning, everyone. I am a tech support engineer with the QDI group, so supporting tools like Qlik, Replicate, and Compose. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, in a home office at the moment, but hope to come back on to our office sometime soon. And happy to be here and field any questions we can.
Okay, great. That's our panelists, everyone. Let me pull up, before we dive into the questions, Qlik community, because this is where you guys are going to live for downloads. And I just want to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about when we say the download site. So if you come to Qlik community, you have to make sure that you're logged in with your Qlik ID. And then when you go over to support and product news, you should see our downloads site. So if you click here, this is our beautiful new download site. It's a lot easier to use than our last one. And as we go through the questions, we can kind of talk through some of the functionality and features. So let me pull up the first question today. Again, everyone on the call, make sure to put your questions in the Q&A chat below. So let me pull it up. The first question is, I can't access the new site. How do I get help? So, Tony, Fabrice, what are some common reasons that people are not able to see this download site? I know logging in is a big one.
Yeah, so I guess that's the first criteria, that you need to be logged into community, and I guess your user account also needs to have the right flags in terms of you being a customer or a partner, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, if there's some more layers to it. So that should be the key requirement to open this page. So if you go directly to the URL before you log in, there should be an error message, I believe.
Okay. I think I saw
Just
something on
to
the-
add really quick to that, Katie.
Yeah.
So you do have to be a customer or partner. If you don't have that role, or you don't know if you don't have that role, but you don't see the downloads page, I would suggest creating a case with our customer support team, because they'll be able to assist you with that. And you can go to support. Anywhere in the support page, there is a blue help button. So you can even see it on the downloads page right there with Katie. But that is on all of the support pages, and you can reach out to customer support that way.
Right. I'll add, sometimes if you can't see the download site, it might be the same permissions of not being able to see the case portal. So that's where that help button will come in really handy. You can live chat with our agents almost immediately. So that's a good place to start. I was reading something on community. I don't know if this was a past issue, but it was with the cookies on people's site that they didn't have enabled, or is that one of the issues?
Yeah,
Yes.
so, oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Tony was the one that actually figured it all out. So you're probably more apt to speak about it than me. We do have an ongoing list of just kind of like similar issues. And there is an article in there that will walk you through enabling the cookies. So if you are able to access the page, but you do see a blank box there, it probably has something to do with the cookies. And so I can put that article in the chat for everyone. So if you are seeing that issue, you'll have a way to fix it.
Awesome. And then we have a question that says, where do I find the release notes for each download? So I know on our support product news, you can come to release notes, which once it's loading, it'll show you can filter and sort by your product, release date, even language. Some of our release notes come in Japanese as well. And you can even filter by most recent thread. So if you want to know the latest release, that's out here. Is there any other place we should point them to, experts? Or does that cover it?
I believe in product downloads as well,
Okay.
at least for the QDI.
And where is the product downloads?
Sure. That should be under the product news downloads.
Okay.
And when you go
back.
there and you select your tool, at least as far as the QDI side goes, there should be some links for data integration, and then, for example, replicate. And as you scroll down, you already have the latest release selected. That's nice. And then just expand the width of the download link. If you could just expand the width of that column. And as you can see, about the fourth one down is the release notes accumulated PDF. That's perfect for finding, different patches that have been applied to that particular release. Very useful information.
Great. This is helpful. I'm learning something as we go through. So, and then the release
great.
notes, the release notes tell you all that's included in the release.
Yes.
And you can see how helpful it'll be when you upgrade and download.
Yes.
Okay. All right, everyone, remember to keep bringing in your questions. As we're talking about the download site and we have a download, there's a question here that says, how can I copy a download link? So I think these are probably people who want to copy the download and send it. Is that possible, or you have to be logged in and on the site?
So not from the downloads app, but if you actually hover over any of the links, you will see where everything is stored in GitHub and it's public. So if you go to github.com/Qlik-download, you will see all releases for all products there.
I'm gonna send it. GitHub.
github.com/Qlik.
Qlik.
Yeah, Qlik-download.
Ah, there we go.
You kind of see it there. Yep. And here you have kind of all of the product branches, and then within each, you will have a latest releases going back. I don't know how far back, but I think pretty much everything there should be stored all the way back to the really early releases for some products.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And here you will find the links that we publish in the app, and those can definitely be shared.
Awesome.
Exactly. And you should be able to find all the downloads that are available in the app. You should be able to find them on the GitHub. So anything that is available in the app is also available on this side.
So maybe I can add one more option there. So if you look at the download page, and at least when I use Chrome, if I press the Shift key and click on the link, it will open in a new tab, and then you'll actually have the URL there as an easy way to copy it.
Well, I'm not in Chrome.
Shift
so
regular click.
Oh.
Try a regular click. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So
Awesome.
Depending on the browser, it will
Popped
auto
up.
close the download page or leave it there. But yeah.
Awesome. All right, and we have a question from Thomas. Are release notes always going to be included on the download site going forward, or should we use the release notes part of community primarily? Is this maybe a question for Fabrice and Tony, who are working on the bill?
So for the release notes for the data analytics products that are currently in the community page, we're kind of looking for our alternatives to cross-reference them from the download app. But we still have a little bit of work to do before we can add that. But that's kind of our longer-term ambition, that when you go to this page, you'd have a reference to release note on the same line as where you find the installer.
Okay, so that's a future
it's,
goal.
Yeah, let's call it work in progress.
Work in progress.
I don't have an ETA, unfortunately, but we understand the use case for it. So we're looking at how we can solve that in a good way.
Yeah, and you might be able to find some of them on the QDI side already, but more to come. And again, it's all under the same sub navigation, which is product news. Under support, you'll find downloads, you'll find release notes, and you'll find information on our product support lifecycle. So how long each of your products is supported by Qlik. All right.
Hey, Katie, we have a question in the chat.
Oh, perfect.
From Shyam. They're asking, the latest download site has only the latest version, visibility option, latest release, and patch is always selected. How do I see the older versions?
Great question. I think if we just unsearch it, right? All releases and all patches, and you choose, let's do Qlik Sense Desktop, and you can see, you can click through any of our past sessions and just make sure that it's included.
Yep.
And hit OK.
So, and then something to add to that too, if you have a version, you're looking for a version that's not available for some reason, I would definitely recommend just, clicking the help button at the bottom right-hand corner. You can get connected to someone in customer support, and they can help you get the release that you're looking for if it's not available.
Awesome. Thanks. We have a question from Stephen. We want to migrate, not upgrade, from November 2020 to February 2022. Is there information available that tells us if and how this can be done?
So can he clarify what he means by migrate? Is that basically you do a fresh install and then you copy your apps that you care about over, or? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So it depends how much of your previous environment you plan on keeping, right? I know that people have developed tools for transferring security rules and transferring particular applications. I don't know how much of them are easily accessible to just the public, right? It can all be done via the APIs, but that doesn't necessarily mean you want to roll your own. But I guess that's what I can tell you. If you approach the services department at Qlik, I know that they have the expertise in providing that service. Right? It isn't an uncommon scenario. And if you want something that, if you want to link environments together, which is something that some of our customers do, then certainly the APIs can do it on a more sustained basis. But
Okay.
there's not a simple document for me to point you at that will cover everything that you need to move across.
Yeah.
But
There was
otherwise,
this-
a simpler migration method would be to just take the database backup from the older version and restore it onto the newly installed February 2022.
But I mean, that
will
essence is an
move.
upgrade. Like,
Sure. If you're also moving to a different machine set, then I would consider that a migration.
right? Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. And he goes, how do I know if that will work? Is there any testing he can do, or?
I mean, you would be doing this, I presume, before you go live. So there's a certain amount of testing that you would be doing anyway. What happens when QlikSense starts up is the upgrade on QlikSense doesn't actually directly touch the database. The first time QlikSense starts up after you've installed the new version, it will upgrade the contents of the database to the current release. In fact, one thing that I've done that is kind of interesting to do is if you install QlikSense, but before it starts up, you just go in and look at the database, you see a very different structure than because it will actually go through and provide the transformation afterwards. Not very useful, but it is interesting.
Okay. And I think there's another question when I was going through the questions on community that might be along these lines. It's, when upgrading QlikSense, can I upgrade to the most recent version, or do I need to install the intermediate versions first to process it well?
It depends on how old your version of QlikSense is. There are a couple of breakpoints, although I think all of them are basically past the supported window. But basically, there was a breakpoint when we changed database version, when we moved to 9.6, and there's a breakpoint around certificates, which is a couple of years old now. Mario, can you think of any other concerns on that one?
No, basically, if you're upgrading from anything published in 2020 or newer,
yeah.
You should have a smooth upgrade procedure, and you can go direct to the latest version. It's only very, very old versions, especially those in 2019 and before, like Andrew said, before we upgraded the version that we ship with Postgres.
Yeah.
So originally it was 9.2, I believe, and then we upgraded to 9.6. That was a breaking change.
Yeah, and so I should note that in future we are planning on providing a 10.x version of Postgres. Well, not 10. We're providing a more recent version of Postgres with QlikSense. It's not yet released, and at that point, you will probably also want to be stopping and making sure that you're performing that upgrade. We are planning on making that database upgrade easier than it was last time. Last time it could get quite fiddly to get things to proceed.
Okay. And Miguel asks, also, you need to, or he's maybe saying.
He's providing additional information.
Additional information,
You want to install the initial release of your chosen version, then patch. And one thing that should be noted, I tell customers this a lot, is that patches are removable, right? So you can, if something goes wrong after you install a patch, you can very easily remove that patch. They also don't take very long to install compared to an upgrade, right? But the key point is that you can roll back a patch, you can't roll back an upgrade. So please don't hesitate to actually patch. There are some quite significant improvements that can end up in patches in terms of performance or reliability. And unfortunately, recently, literally a feature because of an issue with QMC. But most of the time, it's that like all they are meant to be doing is fixing bugs. And if you do, in the rare instance that you do encounter a problem with one, you can very easily remove them. So please use them.
So one last note on this. While initial releases obviously have huge deltas between them, patches are cumulative. So patch 12 will have everything from patch 1 to 11 inclusive. So if you need to go to a previous version, you will need to have that patch installer downloaded so that you can apply that. But that's why testing in lower environments and validation of major version upgrades is very important, both from a functional perspective as well as a platform stability and performance.
Great, thank you. Very important to distinguish. And again, I'm learning a lot, so appreciate the detail, guys. We have a question here that says, I have multiple products, so Qlik View, end printing, geoanalytics. What order do I upgrade them in? Does it matter?
I would take the approach of backend first.
Okay.
So all of these other than Qlik View and Qlik Sense, everything else will be value added. You need to upgrade your main core solution first, and then everything else, because everything else will be connecting to the main thing, and that's how you ensure version compatibility from the ground up. Otherwise, you may get in a situation where you're installing a value add product that is making use of APIs that are not yet supported in the core products. Either analytics or integration. I'm not sure if this is entirely true of the Qlik integration side, but certainly true of the data analytics products.
Anything to add on the integration side, Kelly or Barbara?
Not really. I think if the customer has this series of tools such as, QEM, our enterprise manager, as well as our replicate tool, for example, it depends on, well, it doesn't really depend too much on each other. You can upgrade one from the other. It's just that as long as you have Qlik Enterprise Manager being a bigger build number and version greater than replicate. If you happen to have R4Z for DB2Z support, just that you want to make sure that R4Z version and build number is from the same corresponding service release of replicate, and just upgrade as you see fit.
Okay. Now's the time where I remind everyone we're about halfway through the pre-submitted questions. So if you want to get your question answered while you're on this call, make sure to put your Q&A question below. So I'll jump right into my extension bundles are missing after a new installation. Is there any way they can troubleshoot that?
So the extension bundles, you have to make sure you select to include them when you install. They are a separate checkbox. If they are not included in your install, they will actually be removed if you had them on a previous version, but you then don't check the box to install them during an upgrade. So then to add them, I don't remember the steps off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure there's an article in community for adding the extension bundles. Yeah. And then, there's also some circumstances where they can not show up, even if you did select them to be installed. And There's articles
So
covering that too.
according to this article, they can be re-enabled via the installer if you hit change in programs and features, or by essentially unpacking the installer and then installing only that specific component.
Okay. And we'll share everyone at the end when we post this link on Qlik Community, which you'll get the link a week from today. We'll share all of the resource links as well on that posting. So if you want to visit this page again, we can send it to you. And I can walk through some other resources that I pulled out before this session. I know we have a recording Techspert Talk webinar, which is also run by support my colleague Troy. This is what I call our show and tell webinar. So he goes into a topic in depth and then has time for Q&A at the end. This was done just in the last quarter of last year, so should all be pretty relevant, and you can click through to a question that you might have. And this is on troubleshooting Qlik Sense specifically upgrades. So our next question is, how do I set up a test environment to test a new version? And I think this comes after there's a great resource out here. I'm trying to find the right one. Maybe I got out of it. Oh, here we go. Qlik Sense upgrade guide. In bold, there's a big test. So I think they kind of want to know how. I will call out, there's some clear steps here on, making sure you have a checklist of your tests, APIs, extensions, customizations. But as far as the actual environment to do so, does anyone want to speak on that?
Well, the environment will depend again on what type of testing you wish to perform before and what kind of validations. If you're just focusing on the functional aspect, essentially a smaller sized replica of your production environment would do. In fact, with a lesser amount of servers, you'd still be able to perform the validation jobs, unless some of that validation has to do specifically with the balancing of applications and tasks across nodes. If you want to make sure there is not a performance degrade, then you'll need essentially a mirror environment of your production, or to perform those tests in production.
Yeah, although obviously performing tests in production is something you don't
not advisable and essentially and definitely not doable without some planning with the business as well. Right, which is it's important to have test environments, but how exactly you deploy them or how they should be set up depends a lot more on your IT and business operations needs than a specific recommendation.
My understanding is that often when you get a license, you will get a second license that is specifically intended for test environments. But even if you don't have that, with a signed license, you can use the same license on multiple environments. So there's not a license bottleneck there. You can set up both environments to use that. If you're using the same license as production, it means that your users will kind of sync across, like users with licenses will sync between the environments. So it's probably best to make sure that they're both hooking up to the same directory. Otherwise, you might run into double consumption. But that's one of the reasons for you normally getting a test license. And if you don't have that, then talk to your account manager and ask them about that.
Okay. And along these lines of testing and prepping your environment, we have a question on how do I back up a Qlik Sense site? And there is a help article.
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
And that's exactly the steps that you want to use to help. There's a series of databases that you need to back up, and there's your applications as well, right? And this article goes through how you make those backups. Of course, the other option is to just take a file system backup, right? If you're taking images of your servers, including your shares, then that is also a backup. But this is a way of having like a distinct, I'm just backing up Qlik Sense kind of backup. So this should go through everything that you need. So you
in some situations, a full image rollback might not even be feasible, depending on what the delta of changes is there after the issue has been detected. So having essentially unit backups of individual parts of the puzzle, such as the databases, the application storage, your extensions, the certificates themselves, so that you can essentially rebuild the same exact environment on new machines without having to move a gigantic disk image from host to host, let's say. It all depends on your IT infrastructure capabilities. If let's say standing up a brand new host based on an image taken from another host is easier than having to rebuild and sit and manually install software and then restore it and go for that. It all depends on what kind of infrastructure you have already set up for this. But following this guide will give you a great information store for being able to recover the product itself.
Yeah. I know we were even talking about certificates a little bit earlier, and there's articles right above and below it as well. Okay. So, and this Qlik Sense for Administrator, I would say maybe playlist or repository, do we want to call it, has a lot of great resources for all those on that product. All right. Again, is our last and final call for questions from everyone on the line. I'll go through some of my resources here, and I'll share them across, but this is a great checklist step by step to see what you can do to set up. This is all for our client managed Qlik Sense products. There is even a troubleshooting video from Bastian, who is one of our Qlik Sense experts, and you can go in and look at each of these items and find other shoot off resources. Again, help.qlik.com has a lot of great resources as well. I'll share these across. When it comes to the download site, Fabrice, Tony, is there anything else you want to add or highlight? Maybe a feature, functionality? I see, is this new, the feedback button? Is that?
Yes, please use that. We are welcoming a lot of feedbacks so that we can, improve as it goes along.
Awesome. And again, that's all under Qlik Community. Make sure you're logged in, support, product, news. That's where to find it. I think probably, and Jamie had to head out, but I do think some new upgrades to community might bring that even higher in the navigation rail. So, because it's definitely a highly visited site, I can tell you that by doing the metrics on the background. This is the place where you can find, I'd say someone wrote in earlier saying, how do they see all releases and patches? But I do really like the feature where it automatically, you can see the latest release, so you know how to stay on top of your patches and your upgrades. Thank you, Tony and Fabrice, for all your work on this site. I was often sending customers to the past download site before, and it was very frustrating for them, and this answers a lot of our questions and problems, and it's easy to navigate, and we really appreciate your work on this, so thank you. Let me see, I think that's it for our questions today. I want to thank everyone for joining us. When you check out Q&A with Qlik, this is where we're going to have our recording, so you can look back at the questions that were asked. You can reference some of our answers. That's over here in this past events tab. We had another one earlier about migrating from QlikView to Qlik Sense SaaS, and our upcoming events are Qlik Forts. That's on May 4th. That's why I have the terrible Star Wars pun there. And then we're also going through Qlik Lineage in the beginning of this summer. So more sessions will be out. I think we even have it through July. If you click register now, you can see our sessions through July. We even have our developer series the end of this month as well. It's a busy April. So check out all of these sessions if they apply to you. Here at the bottom is where you can click to get your regular invitations. We hope to see you in future sessions, and thank you to all of our panelists for joining today.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good
Blast.
one, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Take
Bye.
care.